At 38, Olivia Carter never imagined she would hear that sound again. It was a familiar, unwelcome melody, the chime of her custom doorbell, specifically designed to cut through the quiet of her immense home. Standing motionless in the cool, polished expanse of her grand Aetion mansion's hallway, she felt a sudden, cold jolt. The rich, low chime echoed sharply through the silence. A silence she had meticulously cultivated over 15 years of self-imposed isolation. She peered through the sophisticated security monitor, and her breath hitched. There they were, for faces, achingly familiar, whom she had spent the better part of 2 decades trying to excise from her existence. Her mother, her father, her brother, and her sister, gathered awkwardly at her imposing, wrought-iron gate. They were gazing upward, their expressions a conflicting mix of stunned admiration and palpable desperation, at the glittering life she had forged entirely without them. The family who had once discarded her like an inconvenient truth had returned. Why now? Olivia managed to breathe, the sound barely audible over the sudden, frantic drumming of her heart. A torrent of suppressed memories, the buried pain, the old slights, came rushing back, threatening to drown her hard-won composure. She gripped the marble console, unsure whether to hit the release button and welcome the regret, or simply allow them to stand outside, tasting the bitterness of their own abandonment. Olivia's early years were spent in a predictably quiet, middle-class neighborhood outside Chicago. Her father, Walter, an engineer, was perpetually absent, working grueling hours, yet he always materialized, beaming, for her older brother Philip's football games. Her mother, Elaine, was the picture of suburban warmth, a cheerful third-grade teacher universally adored by her community, yet strangely detached from her own youngest daughter. Olivia was the third child, an afterthought trailing far behind her 2 shining siblings. Philip was the golden boy, the celebrated athlete. Sophia, the elegant school beauty, destined for a career as a concert pianist. And Olivia, she was simply the quiet, unobtrusive one. Even when she achieved flawless report cards, her parents offered only a distracted nod. When Philip earned the same grades, the house erupted in celebration. A celebratory cake, booming laughter, and a special dinner at the family's favorite Italian restaurant. "Why can't you ever be more like your sister, dear?" her mother would often sigh, adjusting Sophia's perfect braid. Sophia was mastering Mozart at your age. Olivia absorbed the cruel lesson early. Simply being good was meaningless. Your success had to reflect the status of others to matter. The memory that sliced deepest, clearer than any other, was her 10th birthday. Her mother had promised a modest celebration. Colorful balloons, a store-bought cake, and a few close friends from school. Olivia woke before dawn, vibrating with nervous excitement, far too elated to touch her breakfast. But as she skipped down the stairs, she was met with her mother's unnerving calm announcement. "Sweetheart, we have to cancel the party. Philip has a championship game today. We need to be there to support him." Olivia's lower lip began to tremble uncontrollably. "But Mom, my friends are supposed to arrive in less than 2 hours. Her father's ensuing voice was sharp and unforgiving. "Don't be selfish, Olivia. Family commitments come first." The injustice felt like a physical wound, deepening the realization she had always suspected. The concept of family never seemed to include her. That afternoon, she sat miserably alone on the cold stadium bleachers, watching her parents enthusiastically cheer for Philip. Not a single person mentioned her birthday. There were no candles, no song, no whispered wishes. That night, huddled under her covers, she ate a cold slice of leftover pizza, whispering the bitter truth into the darkness. "Happy birthday, Olivia." Sophia, 5 years Olivia's senior, had refined emotional cruelty into a fine art. When her friends visited, she would pointedly lock Olivia out of her room, sharing loud, secretive giggles that instantly ceased the moment Olivia's shadow darkened the doorway. "She's just so dreadfully dramatic," Sophia would declare sweetly, just as their parents walked past. Olivia frequently retreated to the solitude of her room, silently crying, clutching her frayed teddy bear while the sound of carefree laughter drifted from the other side of the closed door. Philip was less actively cruel, but equally absent. He never offered defense or solace. "Just ignore her," he'd shrug, his focus already returning to the meticulous arrangement of his football trophies. The only genuine warmth Olivia ever experienced emanated from her grandmother, Eleanor. The old woman made the sacred journey once a month, bringing perfectly baked cookies, strong, loving hugs, and the unconditional affection Olivia desperately lacked at home. "You've got a special kind of spark, Liv," Eleanor would insist, tracing the child's cheek. "One day, the whole world will finally see it." Those treasured words became Olivia's hidden source of power, the quiet, persistent ember that sustained her. As the years blurred, school transformed into Olivia's critical refuge. She immersed herself utterly in books and complex science projects, knowing intuitively that knowledge was her only viable ticket to freedom. Her father often mocked her for being too serious and focused, but she had long stopped caring what they thought. When she secured acceptance to Stanford University, she waited, holding her breath, hoping for the slightest sign of pride. Her father merely frowned. "That's awfully far from home, and prohibitively expensive." Her mother sighed dramatically. Perhaps community college would be a more sensible start? Olivia felt the familiar tightening in her throat, refusing to let the devastation show. "I received a full scholarship," she stated quietly. For one stunned second, the room was suspended in silence. Then her father nodded, the expression almost one of mild disappointment. "Well, I suppose that's marginally acceptable." That night, Olivia packed her single, small suitcase with intensely trembling hands. She didn't realize it then, but leaving that suffocating house was more than just starting college. It was the decisive first step toward constructing a life where they held no power over her. Stanford was the sun-drenched, palm-lined freedom she had always fantasized about. For the very first time, she felt positively invisible, and she cherished it. No one here knew the history of her family, or the hollow emptiness she constantly carried. She spent endless, grueling nights in the computer science lab, utterly mesmerized by the notion that unseen lines of code could be used to build entire, functioning worlds. She attempted calling home occasionally, but her parents were invariably too occupied. When her father did answer, he talked exclusively about Philip's latest corporate promotion or Sophia's impending piano recital. "We're proud of all our children," he'd state blandly, carefully omitting any mention of Olivia's burgeoning achievements. Eventually, she simply stopped calling. She found genuine friends, joined the competitive robotics club, and became adept at building stable things that worked reliably, unlike the volatile dynamics of people. Still, every time she observed other families visiting campus, a deep, silent ache resonated inside her chest. Upon graduation, Olivia had earned stellar honors and immediately accepted a challenging job offer at a burgeoning tech startup in San Francisco. She called home, excited to share the news. "That's nice, dear," her mother said dismissively. "But remember, family comes first. When exactly will you be visiting?" "Maybe once I'm settled in," Olivia replied, forcing a smile her mother couldn't possibly see. But fate intervened with other, far crueler plans. A few months into her new job, she received a call that instantly pulverized her fragile peace. "Olivia," her mother's voice announced, strangely emotionless. "Grandma passed away this morning." The phone tumbled from Olivia's nerveless grasp. Eleanor, the only human being who had ever made her feel unequivocally loved, was gone forever. Hot tears instantly flooded her vision. "No, no, not her," she choked out. She booked the first possible flight to Chicago, her heart heavy with crushing grief and a storm of unanswered questions. The funeral was a quiet, cold, and utterly sterile affair. Olivia sat alone, isolated in the front pew, clutching a faded photograph of Eleanor. Her parents and siblings sat huddled together, a unified front, whispering quietly among themselves. No one approached Olivia to ask how she was coping. After the brief service, they adjourned to her parents' house for the solemn reading of the will. Olivia positioned herself near the perimeter of the room, her eyes red and burning, but maintaining a stoic silence. The lawyer began to read. Her mother inherited the house. Philip, the classic car. Sophia, the expensive family jewelry. Then came a significant pause. To my treasured granddaughter, Olivia, the lawyer continued, his voice softer, I leave my ruby engagement ring and the sum of $5,000. You were always truly special to me. Olivia managed a weak, tearful smile. It's more than enough, she whispered sincerely. What she didn't know was that this seemingly small moment was about to act as a catastrophic catalyst. Her father's face immediately flushed a deep, alarming red. That is completely outrageous, he bellowed, slamming his fist onto the mahogany table. Mother always spoiled Olivia for no discernible reason. For no reason? Olivia repeated internally, her voice barely a tremor. Perhaps, she finally challenged, her tone shaking with pent-up fury. It's because she was the only one who ever treated me like family. Her father's eyes narrowed dangerously. Don't you dare start, young lady. We took you in when absolutely no one else would. Olivia froze completely. What do you mean, took me in? She asked, her voice cracking. Her mother fired a panicked, warning glance at Walter, but it was already too late. You are not our real daughter, he blurted out, the words laced with years of suppressed resentment. A terrifying silence descended upon the room. Olivia felt the air evacuate her lungs. What? She whispered, stunned. Her mother quickly jumped in, attempting damage control. You were adopted when you were 2. Your biological mother, an old college friend of mine, died in a car crash. We did the right thing and decided to take you in. Olivia stared blankly, tears now spilling unchecked down her cheeks. You lied to me, my entire life. Sophia crossed her arms, rolling her eyes with characteristic dismissiveness. It wasn't exactly a secret, Olivia. Most of the extended family knew. Except me, Olivia whispered, the ultimate betrayal sinking in. The one person who truly mattered. Her father squared his shoulders. You ought to be deeply grateful, Olivia. We provided you with everything. You gave me everything but love, she stated, her voice breaking entirely, yet her cold anger proving infinitely stronger than her pain. Did you ever love me at all? Or was I simply a long-term act of charity? No one met her gaze. The ensuing silence was louder, more damning, than any argument could have been. Olivia stood abruptly, her chair screeching across the hardwood floor. You will never see me again, she declared, snatching up her coat. Her mother instinctively reached out a hand. Olivia, please wait. No, she cut her off, the tears now streaming freely, signifying the end of hope. You made your choice a long, long time ago. She walked out of that house, out of their manufactured lives, and decisively into a future she knew she must build entirely on her own terms. Olivia arrived back in San Francisco emotionally devastated, her eyes swollen and raw. The vibrant city lights blurred through her tears as the taxi navigated the streets filled with glowing signs of possibility. She clutched Eleanor's ruby ring, wearing it now, a tangible lifeline connecting her to true love. That ring and $5,000 were her only inheritance, her starting capital. You will be okay, she promised the terrified reflection in the window as the cab stopped outside a cramped, slightly dilapidated apartment building. Her new roommates, Alice and Jordan, greeted her with genuine, welcoming smiles. We split the rent equally and share all the chores, Jordan explained, showing her the tiny, functional kitchen. That's perfect, Olivia nodded. Her room was minuscule, barely accommodating her bed and a desk, but crucially, it was hers. That night, lying awake and listening to the familiar urban symphony of traffic, she made a solemn vow. I will build a life so undeniably successful. They will forever regret the day they let me go. The next morning, Olivia began her job as a technical support specialist at a modest software firm. It was decidedly unglamorous, but it reliably paid the bills. Her manager, Mr. Coleman, handed her a headset. Answer the calls, meticulously solve the technical problems, and keep the customers calm. Simple enough. Olivia offered a tired, faint smile. I'll do my best, sir. The days were relentless, filled with endless complaints, but she attacked every issue like a complex logic puzzle. After work, while her roommates watched reality TV or slept, she studied. She rigorously taught herself advanced coding languages, data encryption, and robust security protocols. You just never stop working, do you? Alice asked one weary night. Can't afford to, Olivia replied with a tired grin. Every single hour spent learning felt like another indispensable brick added to the unshakable foundation of her new life. 6 months into this relentless routine, Olivia attended a free cybersecurity seminar at the city library. The guest speaker was Professor Diana Chan from Berkeley, who spoke compellingly about the intersection of digital privacy and human behavioral science. Olivia listened raptly, her mind buzzing with innovative concepts. When the crowd dispersed, she nervously approached the podium. Professor Chan, your discussion on behavioral authentication, it's absolutely fascinating, she began. Diana offered an encouraging smile. And you grasp the concept? I think so. Passwords can be hacked or stolen, but innate, learned behavior cannot be copied. Diana's eyes lit up immediately. That is a remarkably clever way to articulate it. Are you currently in the field? Trying to be, Olivia admitted sheepishly. Right now, I'm in tech support. Then keep learning, Diana advised kindly, and attend our next hackathon at Berkeley. You might genuinely surprise yourself. Olivia thanked her, leaving with the profound feeling that a crucial door had just cracked open in her future. The hackathon was chaotic and exhilarating, packed with young, high-energy coders, their laptop screens casting a blue glow over the room. Olivia felt undeniably out of her depth initially, but she joined a small, struggling group tasked with identifying a major security flaw in a financial application. Let's try tracking user behavior patterns instead of just relying on static passwords, she suggested hesitantly. The team decided to follow her unconventional lead. By morning, they had successfully located and fixed a significant vulnerability. Their unconventional solution secured third place and, critically, captured Diana Chan's complete attention once more. You possess a very distinct kind of talent, Diana noted after the awards ceremony. Do not, under any circumstance, waste it. From that day forward, Diana became far more than a mentor. She became a trusted friend, inviting Olivia to industry conferences, sharing essential resources, and introducing her to influential professionals. You perceive things others entirely miss, Diana told her one afternoon. That is your unique gift. Olivia allowed herself a rare, small smile. Perhaps that's only because I've been invisible for most of my life. Encouraged by Diana's faith, Olivia began earnestly developing her proprietary cybersecurity idea, software that could verify users purely based on their unique physical behavior patterns, not mutable passwords. She spent every night coding, every day working, and every weekend bartending at a popular tech hangout to aggressively save money. One slow evening, a well-dressed man seated at the counter initiated a conversation. Do you truly believe passwords are going to vanish someday? He asked casually. Maybe, she replied, meticulously pouring his drink. People's habits often tell the truth more accurately than their spoken words. The man grinned knowingly. You sound like someone who has been studying this field for years. Just a few hundred sleepless nights, Olivia responded with a weary chuckle. 2 weeks later, that same man formally introduced himself. My name is Travis. I invest heavily in early-stage startups. Show me your idea. Olivia blinked, momentarily speechless. Are you being serious? Dead serious, he confirmed. I have a strong preference for people who build something impressive entirely from scratch. Travis honored his commitment, and after a thorough review of her technical proposal, he wired $200,000 into her new business account. It's truly not much by Silicon Valley standards, he admitted, but it's a solid foundation to start. Olivia could barely breathe from the shock. Thank you, she managed to whisper. Don't thank me yet, he countered, his gaze challenging. Go out and prove me right. She resigned from her tech support job the very next day and leased a tiny co-working space downtown. The walls were bare, the desk secondhand, but it was definitively hers. She christened the project Secure Now. Each day, she coded for 16 intense hours straight, mercilessly debugging errors and testing features until her eyes burned. When the system invariably crashed, she would clutch her grandmother's ring and whisper, "I can do this. I must do this." Sometimes she would collapse onto the office couch, waking only to the harsh blue glow of her monitor. The profound hunger to succeed burned hotter and brighter than any remaining fear of failure. Months of grueling work passed, and finally Secure Now had a robust, working prototype. Travis organized an intimate demo for a small group of influential venture capitalists. "Keep it brief, keep it crystal clear," he instructed. Olivia stood before a dozen impeccably suited men and women, her hands barely trembling. "Passwords are obsolete," she began with conviction. "Behavior never lies." She demonstrated precisely how her software identified users through the minute rhythm of their typing, the unique trajectory of their mouse movements, and even micro-delays in processing. When she finished, the room was held in stunned silence. Then one seasoned investor leaned forward, his voice hushed. "This has the potential to fundamentally change everything." Another nodded firmly. "We're officially in." That night, Olivia walked alone along the pier, the cold wind whipping through her hair, tears of profound relief streaming down her cheeks. "You were right, Grandma," she whispered to the distant stars. This was not merely a business. It was the indisputable proof that she could construct something powerful and beautiful directly from the ashes of her pain. Within 12 months, Secure Now exploded from a 3-person team into a thriving organization of 30 employees. Major tech giants began aggressively pursuing lucrative licensing deals. Olivia's downtown office perpetually buzzed with excitement, adrenaline, and late-night pizza deliveries. She walked the rows of desks, genuinely smiling. "You are not just workers," she told them one day. "You are the family I chose." Her staff erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Diana visited frequently, witnessing Olivia's transformation from an anxious coder into a supremely confident CEO. "You've built something truly special," Diana observed. "Not just world-class software, but a remarkable culture." Olivia fully agreed. "I wanted a place where every person feels seen." And they did. Birthdays were lavishly celebrated. Every sincere effort was immediately noticed, and absolutely no one felt invisible. Every subsequent success reminded Olivia of the immense power that love and belief could truly build. When Secure Now hit a staggering $100 million valuation, she smiled quietly. "See, Grandma," she murmured, touching the ruby ring. "You were right all along." But even extraordinary success could not entirely eradicate the deep-seated loneliness. Olivia relocated into a stunning luxury condo overlooking the bay, yet her nights remained silent and empty. She would occasionally scroll through social media, catching glimpses of her siblings smiling in carefully curated family photos. "Complete family," the captions often read, stinging her every single time. One night, she saw a particularly painful post. "Sullivan family reunion. So blessed to have everyone together. Everyone but her." She slammed her laptop shut, staring fiercely at her reflection in the glass. "You don't need them," she told herself firmly. The next morning, she resolved to buy a true home. A sanctuary, not just a successful address. Weeks later, she stood before a sprawling, modern estate in Grand Aetion. $15 million, her agent stated with a flourish. Olivia smiled faintly. "It's worth every penny." For the first time in her life, she desired a space that perfectly reflected peace, not her past pain. Over the next 6 months, she meticulously redesigned every square inch of the vast mansion. The oppressive grand dining hall was converted into her light-filled home office. The East Wing became a private, cathedral-like library, stocked with every classical book she had ever dreamed of owning. In the expansive garden, she commissioned a simple, beautiful stone bench, engraved with her grandmother's full name, Eleanor Grace. It was her quiet, permanent tribute. You would absolutely adore this place, she whispered, gently touching the ring still on her finger. Secure now boasted 500 employees and multiple offices globally. Yet despite her staggering wealth, Olivia remained fundamentally grounded, diligently mentoring young women in technology and privately funding scholarships specifically for foster children. When asked why, she always replied softly, "Because I understand what it is like to feel profoundly unwanted." On quiet mornings, she would sit by her garden window, watching the warm sunlight illuminate the roses, finally believing the painful past had released its grip on her. 15 full years had passed since Olivia had deliberately cut all ties with her biological family. One placid Sunday morning, she sat on her terrace, wrapped in a silk robe, sipping coffee and watching the hummingbirds dart around the tropical flowers. The peace felt absolute, profound. Then, the sound of the doorbell violently shattered it. Her security tablet immediately flashed to life. She reached for it distractedly, then froze completely. There they were, standing at her electric gate. Her father, Walter, noticeably older, his hair completely gray. Her mother, Elaine, her signature pearls still shining, fixed like a painful memory. Philip, heavier and clearly weary. Sophia, immaculately styled as always, holding two small, confused children by the hand. Olivia's coffee mug slipped from her fingers, shattering on the stone floor with a violent crash. "No," she whispered, her heart hammering against her ribs. 15 years of absolute silence. And now they were here at her gate. She stared at the screen for several interminable seconds, her mind frantically searching for a rational explanation. "Why now?" she murmured. A large, bitter part of her yearned to ignore them completely, to let them stand outside until they retreated in defeat. But another part, the small, foolish child who had once craved their smallest approval, needed to understand the motive for their intrusion. Taking a long, deliberate breath, she pressed the intercom. "Can I help you?" Her voice emerged calm and level, though her hands were shaking uncontrollably beneath her robe. Her mother's voice crackled nervously through the speaker. "Olivia, darling, it's Mom and Dad. We need to talk." Olivia hesitated, the word echoing. Talk? After 15 years? Her father's voice followed, sounding tired and brittle. "Please, Liv, just a few minutes." Against every fiber of her better judgment, she pressed the release button that unlocked the towering gate. "All right," she whispered, her voice dangerously tight. "Let's see exactly what you want." Olivia immediately rushed upstairs, quickly changing into simple dark jeans and an elegant white silk blouse. She swiftly brushed her hair, forcing herself to look confident in the mirror. "Don't let them see you falter," she commanded herself. When the doorbell chimed again, she inhaled sharply and opened the massive oak door. Her family stood huddled on her polished marble porch, appearing small and utterly insignificant against the backdrop of the architectural masterpiece behind her. "Wow," Philip muttered, his eyes wide as he gazed up at the soaring windows. "You actually live here?" Olivia folded her arms across her chest. "Apparently." Her mother tentatively stepped forward, her eyes visibly glistening. "You look absolutely wonderful, dear." Olivia instinctively stepped back a fraction. "Thank you." Her father nodded stiffly. We saw your feature article in the Wall Street Journal. We thought it might finally be time to reconnect." Olivia's stomach clenched violently. Reconnect, she thought acidly. Or collect. "Please come in," she said out of ingrained habit, gesturing toward the main living area. The marble floor gleamed intensely under the midday sun. Her guests moved with cautious, slow steps, as if afraid their presence might permanently stain the expensive surfaces. "This is incredibly impressive, Olivia," her mother whispered, clearly awestruck. "You've truly done well for yourself." "Thank you," Olivia repeated flatly. She gestured toward the immense silk sofa. "Coffee? Water?" "Coffee would be lovely," her mother accepted quickly. Olivia used the task as an escape, retreating to the professional-grade kitchen, leaning against the counter, whispering, "You can handle this." When she returned with the custom tray, she caught her mother anxiously scrutinizing every luxurious detail of the room, while Sophia's children openly gaped at the crystal vases and original paintings. Olivia carefully placed the cups down. "So," she began, sitting opposite them, her posture impeccably straight. "What precisely brings you all here after all these years?" Her mother managed a thin, fragile smile. "We've missed you, Olivia." Olivia blinked slowly. "Missed me?" she challenged. "That's strange. I don't recall a single call, a letter, or even a birthday card in the last 15 years. Her father cleared his throat loudly, visibly uncomfortable. We didn't know how to reach you. My email address hasn't changed in 15 years, she countered sharply. Philip leaned forward, attempting a tone of familiarity. "We've been following your success story. We're genuinely proud of you." "Now you're proud," Olivia noted quietly, her gaze unflinching and hard. "Not when I was a lonely child, not when I graduated from Stanford, and certainly not when I was building this company from nothing. Only now, when I'm rich." A thick, agonizing silence filled the vast room. The only sound was the faint, nervous clink of her mother's spoon against the porcelain cup. Finally, her father took a shuddering breath. "Olivia, we also came because we desperately need your help." There it was, the unvarnished, transactional truth. Olivia leaned back into the sofa cushions, folding her arms. "Help?" she prompted coolly. Her father sighed, defeated. "Financial help. My engineering company folded completely last year. We're in a very difficult spot." Philip quickly interjected. "I lost my job in tech. I'm attempting to freelance, but it's nowhere near enough." Sophia's voice trembled visibly. "Harold left me. The divorce is nightmarishly complicated." She glanced tearfully toward her two young children. "They need stability, Olivia." Olivia stared at them, a cold disbelief settling over her. "You came all the way here to ask me for money?" Her father nodded slowly, eyes lowered. "We were hoping you might be able to loan us a couple of $1 million to restart the family business." "The family business?" Olivia repeated, a note of cruel irony entering her voice. "The one that never, ever included me? You would be a silent partner," her mother quickly promised, desperation etched onto her face. "It would finally bring us all back together." Olivia nearly laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Together," she whispered. "Only now that I possess something you finally want." She stood up, pacing the shining marble floor, radiating controlled fury. "Let me make sure I understand this," she articulated precisely. "You deliberately cast me out. You erased me from your lives. You completely ignored my existence for 15 years. And now you have the audacity to demand my money?" Her father's jaw tightened, wounded. "We are still your family, Olivia." Olivia turned sharply, her gaze burning into his. "Are you? You made it perfectly clear that bloodlines mattered infinitely more than love. You told me, to my face, that I wasn't one of you." Her mother's eyes filled with performative tears. "We were wrong, darling. We just want to make things right now." "Make things right," Olivia echoed softly, the phrase tasting like ash. "You're 15 years too late for that." Sophia looked away, shame evident in her posture. "It's not like that, Olivia. You're twisting everything we say." Olivia met her gaze, the moment crystalline. "No, I'm finally seeing everything with perfect clarity." "Please," her father begged, struggling to maintain his composure. $2 million would utterly change everything for us. You would be helping your family rebuild our lives." Olivia tilted her head, holding his gaze steady. "Would I be afforded this same compassion, this same plea for grace, if the tables were turned? If I were the one begging for rescue?" He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his eyes dropping to the marble floor. "That's not fair," he mumbled. "No," she said, her tone cutting and sharp as shattered glass. "What wasn't fair was a 10-year-old girl's birthday being utterly erased from existence because her brother had a minor sports game. What wasn't fair was being perpetually treated like I should be lucky simply to exist in your orbit. She shifted her weight, a subtle movement that conveyed vast emotional distance. Her gaze drifted briefly to the vibrant, manicured garden visible through the tall, crystalline windows. Do you even remember Grandma Eleanor's ring? The question was a low, devastating blow. Sophia frowned deeply, her carefully constructed facade momentarily cracking. What does that antique have to do with this financial discussion? Everything, Olivia said softly, letting the silence stretch the answer. She was the only person in this entire family who ever saw me, truly saw me, and you all hated her for that unearned kindness. Sophia's voice rose, edged with old defensiveness. We didn't hate her, Olivia. She just made you think you were somehow inherently better than us. Olivia laughed. A harsh, bitter sound that held no humor. No, she made me believe I mattered. There's a vital difference. The vast room fell silent again, the air thick and oppressive. Her father rubbed his temples, a gesture of exhaustion. You are being completely unreasonable now, Olivia. Olivia took a deliberate step closer, her bearing calm, yet utterly dangerous. Unreasonable is the sheer entitlement of appearing on my doorstep after 15 years of absolute silence, demanding millions to finance your negligence. Unreasonable is pretending I still possess any shred of loyalty or obligation after the calculated, methodical way you ensured my expulsion. Sophia's children, Jack and Emma, looked confused, clutching tightly to their mother's hand. Olivia's expression softened instantly as she looked at the innocent faces. They didn't ask for any of this, she said quietly, her voice reverting to a gentle murmur. Sophia's eyes flashed with wounded pride. I won't let you punish them for our choices. You'll see, Olivia replied. Olivia turned and walked toward a sleek, built-in shelf, pulling down a weighty, leather-bound album. She placed it deliberately on the mahogany coffee table, the sound echoing in the silence. Let's take a little walk down memory lane, shall we? She suggested. Her family exchanged puzzled, uneasy looks. She opened the album to the first stiff, glossy page. Displayed neatly was a color printout of an old Facebook post. Thanksgiving, 15 years ago, she narrated, her voice devoid of inflection, like a court recorder. That was precisely 3 months after you explicitly told me never to contact you again. The caption read, Grateful for family today and always. Everyone was beaming in the photo. Everyone except me, naturally. She flipped another page, revealing a sequence of captured moments. Christmases, birthdays, family weddings. Photos she had collected quietly, secretly, over the years from the digital ether. Why in God's name do you have these? Sophia asked, horror dawning in her eyes. Olivia offered a faint, chilling smile. Because I'm in cybersecurity, Sophia. We keep comprehensive records. Her father frowned, trying to dismiss the evidence. This is childish, Olivia. No, Olivia said, her eyes blazing with long-suppressed fury. This is what family looked like without me. You called this unit complete. You openly celebrated my absence. Now, tell me precisely why I should help you rebuild what you fought so hard never to let me be part of. Her mother covered her face with trembling hands, the facade completely gone. Olivia, please. We didn't mean for things to turn out this way. Olivia closed the album gently, definitively. But they did. And not one of you ever reached out, not once, to genuinely try and make it right. She opened her professional-grade laptop next, the screen glowing brightly in the dimming afternoon light. Here's something else you might recall. She clicked, and her father's ancient, terse email appeared on the screen. The subject line was stark, family privacy. Please do not contact this family again. Respect our privacy. She read the words aloud slowly, methodically, letting the venom sink in. Her father shrank back, looking down in genuine shame this time. I was angry, he muttered, trying to find an excuse. No, Olivia said, shutting down the excuse instantly. You were cruel. She turned the screen again, displaying a message sent years later. An email from Sophia mocking Olivia's early entrepreneurial struggles and success. Funny, isn't it? Olivia said softly, her voice heavy with irony. You once called me a freak for being different, for wanting things you couldn't control. Yet here you are, begging for a piece of the very company built by that freak. Sophia's cheeks flushed a deep, painful red. I didn't mean it that way. You meant every single word, Olivia replied coldly. But it's all right. I stopped needing your approval a very long time ago. Her voice steadied, becoming purely professional, entirely untouchable. Let me make this absolutely clear. There will be no personal loans, no equity shares, and certainly no capital infusion to revive your failed family business. Her father, his pride shattered, surged to his feet, his face turning dangerous crimson. After everything we did for you, what exactly did you do for me? Olivia cut in, her voice rising now, sharp and undeniable. You reminded me every day that I didn't truly belong here. You told me to be pathetically grateful for the scraps of affection and love you occasionally tossed my way. You taught me that family doesn't always equate to kindness, or even decency. And you know what? You were right, because you aren't my family. Not anymore. The silence that followed was suffocating, heavy and final, like a tomb door sealing forever. Her father's voice cracked, raw with loss. We gave you a home. You gave me a roof, Olivia corrected softly, the distinction brutal and immediate. A home is built with love, Dad. Yours was built with obligation, control, and guilt. Her mother wiped futile tears from her face, whispering an old, desperate plea. We made mistakes, Olivia. We are sorry. Olivia finally met her mother's gaze, clear and unwavering. Are you sorry because you hurt me? Or are you sorry because I became immensely successful without you, eliminating your last chance at control? No one answered. The air between them grew impossibly still, suspended in the truth. Finally, she sighed and turned her attention to Sophia's children, her demeanor softening completely. Jack and Emma, she said gently, I'm your Aunt Olivia. We've never met, but I sincerely hope we can get to know each other someday. The little boy, Jack, smiled shyly, instinctively trusting her shift in tone. The girl, Emma, whispered a small, hopeful hi. Olivia's voice was warm now, truly maternal. You didn't do anything wrong, sweethearts. I want you both to have every genuine chance in life that I never received. She turned back to the stunned adults, the steel returning. I will establish ironclad education trusts for your children, she stated, returning to the business tone. They will have the guaranteed opportunity to attend any university they choose, without the weight of financial worry. But let me be perfectly clear. The funds will go directly into the education accounts. You or Sophia will not be able to touch a single cent. Sophia frowned immediately, the wounded pride flaring up again. We don't need your charity, Olivia. It's not charity, Olivia said firmly. It's protection. It is protection for the next generation from the corrosive mistakes of the last. Her father exhaled heavily, the defeat crushing him. So that's it. After everything. That's it, Olivia replied. You came here asking for money. You will leave here having received a lesson instead. She stood fully, tall and commanding, her eyes clear, no longer clouded by pain. I built this life without you, and I will continue it without resentment. But do not ever mistake my capacity for peace as a sign of weakness or forgiveness. Her mother began to cry harder, her voice shaking violently. Olivia, please, can we at least try to start over? Olivia's expression softened briefly, acknowledging the plea, but her resolution remained steady. You can start over, she said, with yourselves. But my peace isn't a convenient door you can simply walk back through again. Her father clenched his fists, enraged and helpless. You've become heartless. No, Olivia replied quietly, a serene smile touching her lips. I've become free. She walked to the massive double door and opened it, signaling the end. My assistant will contact you within the week regarding the legal establishment of the education funds. Goodbye. Her family hesitated, sensing the utter finality in her tone, the door that was now slammed shut on their shared history. Slowly, reluctantly, they walked toward the sweeping driveway. Just before leaving, Sophia turned back, tears streaming down her face. "For what it's worth," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm proud of you." Olivia nodded faintly, acceptance mixing with the distance. "Then prove it by being better for your kids than you ever were for me." The door closed behind them with a definitive, soft click that resonated like the final period on a finished chapter. Olivia leaned back against the solid wood, her strength momentarily abandoning her, and the tears finally spilled. Not tears of sadness or lingering anger, but cathartic tears of absolute release. 15 years of suppressed silence, deep anger, and aching longing dissolved into one long, deep, cleansing breath. "It's over," she whispered to the empty air. She walked through the quiet, sun-drenched house, past the luxurious objects that no longer represented validation, and out into the expansive garden. The late evening light painted everything in shades of rich gold and amber. She sat on the weathered marble bench, the one dedicated years ago to Grandma Eleanor. "I did it, Grandma," she whispered, twisting the antique ruby ring on her finger, watching the fire catch in the deep red stone. "I finally stood up for the girl you always saw." The evening breeze carried the delicate scent of blooming roses through the air, soft and warm, exactly like the memory of her grandmother's embrace. Her phone buzzed, interrupting the quiet moment. It was Diana. "Hey, Liv," came the gentle, concerned voice. "Are you okay?" "Not really," Olivia admitted, her voice shaky with the residual emotion. "They came today. My family." "Oh, Liv," Diana sighed, the empathy tangible even over the phone line. "Want me to come over?" "Please." A half-hour later, Diana arrived with 2 large travel mugs of custom coffee. She found Olivia still seated in the garden, still wearing the glowing ring and now possessing a faint, fragile smile. "So," Diana said, settling onto the bench beside her, careful not to press. "How spectacularly bad was it?" Olivia let out a small, weary laugh. "They wanted $2 million. And substantial shares in my company." Diana blinked, genuinely shocked. "That's genuinely bold." Olivia chuckled softly, the sound light and free. The sheer, unadulterated audacity almost impressed me. They both laughed, the tension melting away in the shared sound. For the first time that day, Olivia felt truly light, unburdened by the weight of expectation and history. "You know," Olivia said after a long silence, looking out at the fading light. "For years, I dreamed of this moment, of them seeing me successful and regretting every harsh word. I thought seeing their regret would magically make everything better." "And did it?" Diana asked gently. Olivia shook her head slowly, thoughtfully. "No, their regret doesn't heal anything within me. It just proves that they never understood what love actually was." Diana nodded, thoughtful and wise. "Because love isn't about possession or necessity. It's about choosing someone, even when they're inconvenient." Olivia smiled faintly, recognizing the profound truth. "Exactly, and I've finally chosen myself." The sky dimmed further, the first bright stars beginning to pierce the velvet darkness. "You're strong, Liv," Diana said softly. "No," Olivia replied, gazing toward the glowing horizon, her peace evident. "I'm finally at peace." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last vestiges of the sunset. The air was filled with a quiet hum, the sound of profound new beginnings. Weeks later, Olivia launched the Eleanor Grace Foundation, a philanthropic organization dedicated to providing education and emotional support for foster children and adopted teens who felt abandoned or forgotten. At the large press event, she stood on stage, impeccably dressed, and spoke not as a CEO, but from the raw core of her heart. "Family is not always defined by blood," she announced, her voice resonating across the hushed crowd. "True family is the chosen allegiance. It is who stands beside you when you have nothing left to give, and still sees your worth." The audience applauded thunderously, many wiping tears from their eyes. Olivia looked up at the giant screen behind her, which proudly displayed her grandmother's name in bright, hopeful letters. "This is for you, Grandma," she whispered. That night, Letters began pouring in from young people across the country. Stories of resilience, profound loss, and tentative hope. Olivia read every single one, her heart swelling with purpose. She finally understood what her pain had meticulously prepared her for, to transform rejection into boundless compassion. Months later, she hosted a small, intimate garden party at her home, not for investors or journalists, but for the people who truly mattered. Friends like Diana, her trusted colleague Travis, her dedicated employees, and the foundation's core volunteers. Their laughter and joyful music filled the air. As twilight gathered, Olivia stood by her grandmother's bench, gazing at the faces around her. The beautiful, messy, loving family she had chosen and built. "You were right, Grandma," she whispered, the words catching in her throat. "True family is built, not born." She touched the ruby ring, its red stone gleaming warmly in the lantern light. The profound wounds of her past had finally, completely, become the hard-won scars of strength. And as the night filled with music and genuine laughter, she smiled through tears of deep gratitude. For the first time in her life, Olivia Carter felt whole, loved, undeniably free, and finally home.